All right, I seen, a lot of comments, uh, particularly online in some of these groups that I'm in, Paradox Games, EU4, uh, about people that don't understand trade very well, or people are having trouble understanding how trade works, or are unable to take advantage uh, of trade. So I just want to make a real simple video. There's more complex videos that go more in depth than what I'm going to go into. uh, you know, by some of these people that are just geniuses on the game. But you don't have to understand everything, every nuance when it comes to trade to take advantage and make a lot of money from trade. So I'm just going to try to give a kind of a general overview, a basic guide to follow and make a lot of money with trade. So this is the trade node screen. And what a trade node is just a collection of provinces that are grouped together, and those provinces will create a trade node. So, for example, here's the English Channel. Everything in orange is the English Channel trade node. All right. This is just an England game that I started a while back and picked it up just to make this video. So anyway, when you look at a province, or when you look at a trade node, right? So you'll go to your overview here, and you go to the North Sea, for example. So these numbers over here, the incoming trade, this is how much trade is coming in to this node. So if you look, you have two ways that you could come into the North Sea node. All right, you could come around here from the White Sea, or you can come from here from the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Okay, so what this is, 37.63 ducats, is how much trade, how many ducats are flowing into this node from other sources. Okay, now the local means how much trade value is being produced by every individual province in this node. So if you hover over this, it tells you Lothian. Lothian is giving you 1.59 ducats per month to this node. Okay, not for a total of 19.15 a year. Okay, so if you go to Lothian, right here, trade value 19.15. See that? Trade value 19.15. And if you go back here, local, then right here at the top, 19.15 for a total monthly of 1.59. Okay, so and the outgoing is how much money is being pulled out of here. So you have this whole big pie, right? So your total is 37.63 plus 7.71 for a total of trade in this node of 45.35. That's how much trade total. That's how many ducats from trade are in this node in total. Now, nobody's collecting in this node. That Scotland has been eaten up. There's nothing in Ireland anymore, so it's just being pulled forward. So the outgoing is 45.35. So 100% of the trade is being pulled out of here. So it's being pulled partly over here, 13.74, and then you got 37.99 that are coming. That's coming down to the English Channel. So when you go down to the English Channel, you can see the incoming is 80.13, and that's coming from here, 9.31. You've got 37.99 coming from here, and then you've got everything that's coming, follow this little line here, coming from the Chesapeake Bay. Actually, the Chesapeake Bay is going up through here. So anyway, how this works is if you look at, for example, let's look at this. So you've got 40.68 ducats that are incoming, right? So you follow these lines. You've got them coming from here, the Ohio trade node, and you've got ducats coming from here that's going to be coming from the Caribbean, 31.56. Okay, so you look at this, you have incoming is 40.68, okay, local 14.76. Now what that means is 14.76 ducats are being created right here through production, right? And then you've got 40.68 that's being sent to this trade node from other sources, which means you're taking the production value of these other trade nodes and you're funneling it up through here, okay? So then you have control of, I have 56% control of the Chesapeake Bay. So of the total amount, which is 40.68 plus 14.76, and I'm able to dictate what happens to this trade power, to this 56% based on my trade power. So I dictate what happens to 56% of that, or in this case, 39.15 ducats. So out of this whole big pie right here, 40.68, let's do the math, 40.68 plus 14.76 is 8, 16, 14, 1, 14, 5. So that's 55.44 ducats. 55.44 ducats total in this node. Okay, that's how much total is here. I get to choose what happens to 56% of that, and I'm choosing to send that to another trade node. And then I'm sending it to the Gulf of St. Lawrence, where I choose what happens to 47% of that trade node, which I'm pulling forward to the North Sea, here, where I get to choose what happens to 69% of the total trade in this, trade node, and I'm that corresponding to the 37.99 here that I'm pulling down to the English Channel. So that means that a total of 80.13 ducats from just, what I'm moving from around the world, India, Africa, the New World over here, I'm sending all that trade back along these routes back to the English Channel. Now your home node, you automatically collect in no matter what. By default, your capital and your home node are going to be the same thing. So if you go here to your capital, you've got, this is your capital, and then here, your main trade city. Now, if I'm playing as, let's say, France, and you start with your capital in Paris, if you look, your capital's in the Champagne trade node, you can move that to, let's say that I take, this province here, and I've got a good foothold in the English Channel. Well, I could move my main trade city to this node here, which makes that my main trade node. My main trade port will belong to this node, which means by default I will now collect all that money that's being sent around the world to this province. So you always want to collect, if possible, in one trade node. There's a couple of exceptions. If you're playing as, Genoa, and you have complete control of the Venetian trade node, and you have complete control of the Genoa trade node, it might be worth it to collect in both, since there's already going to be a lot of value in the Venetian trade node. But as a general rule, you always want to try to funnel money from wherever the source is, right? Because trade is just the production value of the collective provinces. That's all trade is. All the production that's in those provinces turns into trade value. How much it's adding to the value of the trade in that node. And then you get a piece of that pie based on the trade power that you have in that node. So again, if you have 100% of the trade power in that node, you can move 100% of that pie to the next node, where you also have 100% trade power, and then you move 100% of that trade to the next node. And you're always trying to funnel that money back to your home node where you dominate trade and hold as much trade power in that one single node as possible. So if I have, if the English Channel is worth 1 billion ducats, but I have 0% trade power in this node, it doesn't do me any good. I don't get anything from that. So you want to have the one node, your home node, and you want to have as much money, or as much money come into this one big pot as you can, and then you want to, here in under trade power, control as much of that one pot as possible. So just kind of a brief recap. How this works: when you increase your trade, or when you increase your production in a province, so let's say London, for example, the trade good here is worth 4.05 ducats. It's a good trade item. It's a good item. Good trade good, I guess is what you would say here. You want to increase the value of that by building workshops and manufactories. Workshops give you a boost to your production. Manufactories give a boost to your production. You want to produce as much as you can, because production is what you're trading, right? You're trading the value of that production. So that gives you your trade value. More production equals higher trade value. That's all you really need to know. More production equals more trade value. So you increase your production in a province, that increases the trade value. You do that over the course or throughout your entire trade node. So all of these provinces, you increase the trade, or the production, which is increasing the trade value of every province here, which increases this number, the local trade value of the node. That's it. That's all you need to know. Then whenever you have, so then you've got what makes up that pot, right? So for example, let's look here. A total of 7.71 ducats worth of trade value here in the North Sea, right? That's the sum of your production in this node. And then you try to get as much control as you can. I have 69%, and then you move it to your main pot. That's where you collect and trade, the English Channel. So produce as much as you can, get as much control of that node as you can, move it on down the chain. And that's it. More production equals more trade value. Move the trade value through the nodes that you control to the one main trade hub, only collecting in one of these trade nodes. And that's it. That's trade in a nutshell. Again, you can find a more detailed explanation from people that have more hours on the game. Maybe they've got a deeper understanding. They can get into the nuts and bolts a little deeper than I can. But if you understand that, production equals trade value. Trade value is actually what you're trading. Then you move that production value through the different hoops, working it back to your main trade hub, which for me, it's this end node in the English Channel. You move it back here, control as much of this big last pot as you can, and that's how much money you're going to make from trade. Again, you can get modifiers, like a trade value, or a trade efficiency guy, like an advisor. Some trade idea does the same thing, et cetera, where you boost how much money you make from it. Again, there's deeper videos out there that give a better, more detailed explanation, but a lot of that you can get lost in the weeds. Just understand the basic principles here, and you can make a vast amount of money from trade doing just this.